Yalla Home
with Anna Schofield
and Big Half.
Live through till 8 o'clock. We are here. It's Sunday already. Can you believe it?
Oh, yeah, it's Sunday. Yeah. How was your weekend anyway?
Do you know what? I got... On Thursday, did you know that I was starting to feel a bit dodgy?
Dodgy meaning?
You know, my ear infection.
Again?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that?
Yeah, it started to come on, and I was thinking, and I'm that person who's worn headphones. So everyone's going, what's wrong with their ears? When you've worn headphones for 15 to 17 years consecutively, every day for about 4 to 5 hours, my right ear is just like a small baby animal that's now leave me alone. And it's really sensitive to sometimes what I drink or what I eat. And
Yeah.
So basically, I was plagued with that for most of the weekend.
Oh, man. God bless. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
Yeah, peppy feet now.
Cool. Speaking about that,
Yeah.
okay, so David Guetta, the world's #1 DJ, in 2020, actually, he gave an incredible online performance for the fans worldwide. It was happening at Burj Al Arab, which is really incredible. Now, you
On
know...
the helipad, no less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole thing was aimed to raise funds to support, obviously, the UNICEF, and just it was really for a good cause.
Yeah.
And all the things I've been tackling, obviously the COVID-19 situation. Really nice. You can definitely watch it. Obviously he's 53 and he has actually received they're talking about he received actually the vaccine. I'm not sure if he took it here or in France,
Did he?
but yeah,
Okay.
he received the first jab of the vaccine. Now the other kind of angle we want to bring to the table here is, okay, I know it's for a good cause, which is check. I know it's in the UAE, and I know it's in Burj Al Arab, one of the most iconic, obviously, landmarks in the UAE and the Arab region. Amazing. All these are check marks. Why couldn't we, and I'm asking you guys, 4215 why couldn't we arrange for like a 7 to 10 minute set from either a local artist singing with him, because there's many people, or a DJ if you don't want to sing. There's many DJs, especially in the UAE. And I'm not talking to be, just to kind of clarify, I don't want an Arab DJ. I want a DJ who's based in the UAE. And the UAE is all about diversity. And the UAE is all about inclusion and tolerance and all that. So why couldn't we have that in this moment? So that's the question I'm kind of asking. I do have my own opinion, but that's the question I'm asking.
Okay, so obviously we understand that the UAE is so aspirational and ambitious. So they will go for the biggest and the best. And it's something that I love them for. I love them for it. And often they break down barriers because they're just like, I don't want to hear no. I want to hear how you can achieve this for me.
Facts.
Love that. But yes, you're a huge supporter of local music, Hass. And so when you do come out and go, why was there no local representation there? I don't have an answer for that.
I have.
Okay.
It's a bit...
Ready, people? Stand back, strap
100%.
in.
Look, I'm never shy about this, but again, we need people who actually care about the infrastructure and the local regional scene, who are in these positions. Because there's many people like me, by the way. I'm not the only one. There's many people that have the same voice, but we can't reach them. I cannot reach the person who's handling the Burj Al Arab booking.
Right.
I cannot reach them. I don't know who they are. I have no idea how to reach them. But there are people that can reach them, and they themselves at the power position, they don't care. And I know that for a fact. I've had kind of discussions with people that have big positions in big companies that will remain nameless. They said, we don't care. And what is it about that you don't care? What is it? Because we do have the talent. So that the check mark there, the talent is there.
Is it that until the local talent reaches some sort of echelon?
Thank you so much.
Then they'll book them.
Thank you so much for saying that.
Okay.
And that was my next big point, which is a problem.
Okay.
It's a problem that I see in Arab TV. Like the biggest Arab TV here is NBC. That's a fact. And they fall into that sometimes.
Right.
Where they wait until an artist gets signed by... For example, this guy we're playing, Isam Najjar, 17-year-old kid, he has the most Shazam track in the world. He was signed by Weeknd's manager right now. He's probably going to do a song with The Weeknd. Just watch. It's going to happen.
It'll happen, but no one's, in fairness, no commercial radio station, not just the UAE, no commercial radio station in Europe yet is playing him, Hass. So just in defense...
He's the most Shazam in the world.
Shazam. But
Not
at the
radio.
same time... Yeah, he won't be on high rotation yet. As soon as
No.
he's famous,
He has one song. But what I'm trying to say is that all the Arab media jumped on him the second he was that they did not give him a platform to showcase. For example, let's say this David Guetta, incredible. How many followers does David Guetta have? I'm just checking in here, millions. He has 9 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just imagine, and even with whoever is like kind of launching it and stuff like that, imagine the same thing that you're doing it, which is like, I think it was around a 25-minute set or half an hour set.
Yeah, it was.
If you allow 5-7 minutes of somebody showcasing and you highlight one name, that will only open the doors to see, wow, we have also people here. It's just a platform situation, you know, that will maybe make or break whoever you're shooting, you know?
I think this is endemic of commercial radio, though, to be honest, because the UK was the same. So there was no platform on any of the radio stations that I worked for in the UK. And I was doing breakfast and all these songs would be on high rotation. There was no platform for local.
I have an answer for that. Can I answer for the UK?
Yeah.
Okay, beautifully said. And I really thank you for talking about that. But the UK, what they were able to do beautifully is that they launched their own platform that got bigger than the commercial ones.
Right.
So Link Up TV, you know, there's many others as well, platforms that are, you know, Grime Daily. These two are platforms that started from local film videographers. And now they're bigger than actual radio. They're bigger because they were able to start from within.
Right.
And the people itself, obviously, right now when you're on Crime Daily, whoa, big deal. Link Up TV, big deal.
Right.
Charlie Soth was actually talking about this the other day. He's like, because we all believed in each other, we all came up together.
Yeah.
We don't have that here.
No.
We have many platforms. You know how many platforms, including The Beat, which is my own. There's many like The Beat, platforms that support local, but like we don't have an impact yet. So that's why I'm talking about places like that. We need to come up. Inshallah, hopefully.
Inshallah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Because I mean, I've been with you 2.5 years now on this show. You've never stopped saying this.
Yeah.
You know, you were saying it nearly 3 years ago. You're still saying it. And at some point, people will listen.
I hope so, really, because this is coming really from good intention, and I love what the UAE is doing, bringing one of the biggest names, if not the biggest, you know, DJ in the world in 2020,
incredible.
And bringing him here in the UAE. It's a big publicity for sure.
And it was done so beautifully. I mean, it was
really
knock
nice.
it out the park.
Oh,
Hassan.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
want to say that.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you tune in and you do go, wow, I live here. And in fact, you know, we could all drive just 20 minutes up the road, you know, no matter where you are, what emirate, ultimately, you could have driven just around there and seen all those fireworks.
Lights.
Seen all the lights.
Yeah.
I mean,
look, the
Saturday night.
UAE never really shies up from a great show, and that's what's amazing about it.
Yeah.
You know, but let us know what you guys think. Again, we're Yalla Home right here, big advocate of pushing this regional and local, you know, scene, and we are here to see that change and witness that change. So I just hope whoever is listening that have the power, please get in touch. We'll make that happen. I'm just saying. Let's go for a little bit of business headlines, and we're going to be right back. Pulse 95.
Yalla Home
With Anna Schofield.
and Big House.
Live till 8. It's 20 to 6. Hope your drive home is going well.
100%. Anna, let me tell you about an application called
Right.
Clubhouse.
Okay. I'm
Man,
looking now.
oh man. Basically, Clubhouse is an invitation-only audio chat social network app launched in 2020 by Alpha Exploration, it's called Co. It was valued at nearly $100 million, and this is really just incredible. Now, on January, just last month, this app hit $1 billion.
What, that's how much it's worth?
Yes, it's the next big thing. Now,
Okay.
I got so many invitations. It's great. So it's only by invite right now, right?
Oh.
And so yesterday, I don't know, it was like 9 p.m. or whatever, and I decided to accept an invite just to see what's
everyone talking
what is this
about?
Why am I getting so many?
Right.
So the second I joined, there was a party done in my name, and they do that in Clubhouse where they welcome people. And the party started to be not about a party welcoming Big House. We started opening discussions and music, and it was just wow. It was like 2 hours conversation about music. Just amazing, really. It's just wow.
And you're sitting visually, so you can see everyone, can you?
No
Or is it
visual.
just audio?
It's only audio. So the whole app is you click on the app and then you see rooms. So like you go to a room entitled Pulse 95 Radio.
Right.
Or like, and sometimes the more provocative with the titles, the more that you have people clicking in the room.
Sure.
And so when you go in the room, you see users and
Right.
people. You might recognize them with their picture or their name. For example, I'd see Anna.
Right.
And Anna will be talking and you'll see the microphone you can shut your microphone. Of course, you can mute it.
Right.
And then And there are people in the room that are only listening, and there are people in the room that want to talk. So you raise your hand and you're allowed in the room, and then you get to talk. Right. And there's like a protocol situation, which is really cool.
Nice.
The interesting part is this app is used by a lot of celebrities right now. Like Elon Musk is on it. And you obviously you get the chance to interact with them somehow, some way. Like I interacted with Lupe Fiasco yesterday. I've been trying to get in touch with this guy for 10 years. 10 years.
I love that.
And we're like, he's like, yeah, big house out of the UAE. I'm like, what? Oh, yo, first of all, Lupe, I didn't know that you're going to choose me and allow me. And I'm like, well, I'm a big fan. And he's like, oh, you know, so it's just really, it's like a conference call, but people on it are talking and listening in, and think about it as if it's just a phone call, really. Right. And people are listening and engaging and talking. So before I came here, I was in the parking. I sat there like half an hour. There was the topic about Arab people speaking English or dialect dual.
Okay.
And it was in Arabic, because obviously in Saudi Arabia, there's this perception about why would you speak bilingual? Like, it's not really cool. Were you showing off on the people who speak Arabic, for example?
Really? Right.
Yeah. So it was really interesting, and you see people debating and talking, and I never really found, because I'm a visual guy.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
the audio has so much power. And the issue is, you cannot get inside until an existing member kind of finds a way to invite you and send you an invite.
Okay, so do they send you an invite for the app, or do you have to be invited into the room?
Yeah, and to the app. You can't use the app right now. It's only by invite. Very exclusive.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is really interesting. So, you know, if you know somebody that, like, I've had one invite, I've sent it to already a friend of mine, and I'm done with invites right now.
Okay.
So now you just need to find somebody who is on Clubhouse and ask them if they have an invite to spare and send them to you, which is really just incredible, you know?
Okay.
I found it very interesting because you're listening to it. You're listening to these people talk. And I think it's the next big thing. A lot of things can happen. So, for example, yesterday, late night, you know, I'm watching the NBA.
Yeah.
There was the executive producer for The Weeknd, the executive producer for Chris Brown.
Oh, wow.
And another executive producer for Drake. They had this room where they will host talents from the region. So one of our talents, Jamie DeVille here, was on the room. It was like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
He sang, he performed.
No.
And they were blown away. And now they're talking about how they can help him.
Wow.
From an audio app.
Yeah.
And they were like, wow, it's amazing. Maybe I can get you a session. Maybe I can make Drake or The Weeknd listen to it. It's to that extent. I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
So it's, it could be small now.
It's
and yes,
change
invite
lives.
now. But I think this is the next app. I do think it is something really cool.
So now you've been invited in and you have it. You can go in anytime and chat.
I can go in anytime right now, and I'll show you an example right now, just off air. I'll show you how it works. Really interesting and just really fascinating. But let us know if you are a user at Clubhouse. Let us know how's your experience on it so far.
Yella Home
With Anna Schofield.
and Big House.
Music's greatest songs. Worth covering. Original classic hitmakers.
And this gentleman is an original, and he is classic, and he's often called Captain Rock by other bands that you will go, wow, really? And that's the secret of Richard Ashcroft. If you know the Verve, and we're talking 90s for the Verve, Bittersweet Symphony, and various other songs that actually, I remember them being sort of part of my history. So I know who Richard Ashcroft is, and he's the lead singer and mostly the songwriter of all those songs. But he went off and created a solo career in the year 2000, and that was quite interesting because I have played a Verve song before. So I wanted to highlight that because that's when the history kind of gets a bit dodgy. He went from a band like the Verve, where he won awards. He won a Novello Award when he was with the Verve for his songwriting. And then he broke free and he did his own album. And I think it must feel like suddenly being out in open sea. You haven't got your bandmate, even though they fell apart, even though they didn't get on. They split up 3 times. They kept trying to get back together. You know, they're one of those bands that just get falling out. And it's who he knows and who are his best buddies that are also interesting. So he was born in 1971. He is English, and he's called the lead singer and occasional rhythm guitarist of the Verve. Alternative rock, they call the Verve. I don't like those categorizations, but those what's the word, Has?
Categorization.
Amazing. Isn't that amazing when a guy from Saudi Arabia is teaching you your own language.
American
Thank you.
influence.
But thank you for being there because I couldn't get that word. So they originally split in 1999, the Verve, and this is when he came out with his first solo album. And this was the first song, literally on the album, but also the first actual sort of single from him as a solo artist. Song for Lovers. Lovely song, and a real love song. And this is the man who wrote Bittersweet Symphony, Lucky Man. I'm sure you remember that. I'd love to play all of these ones. And he had number one after number one after number one with the Verve. And then he did his own album. His album did well too, though. His songs. The interesting thing about this song is that it was written for the Verve. It was written for the band. They recorded it 3 times in 3 different ways, and still it didn't make it. But it didn't make it onto an album called Urban Hymns, which was their best-selling album of all time. And that album contains all these, The D's Don't Work and Lucky Man and Bittersweet Symphony. Those are the songs that are on that album, and that album's iconic in that time. The Ivor Novello Award he received was in 2019, actually, for outstanding contribution to British music from the British Academy of Songwriters, Composers and Authors. And it was Chris Martin from Coldplay that described Richard Ashcroft as the best singer in the world. Big statement, that. Big title. But let me take you through his life. So he's born to, his father was called Frank and he worked in an office, and his mother was called Louise and she was a hairdresser. Just typical Lancashire people. I love that. Lancashire is northern England, and that's where he grew up. And his parents split up, and I think that had quite a lot of, obviously quite upsetting for him. And what happened was he was then an absolute disaster in school. One of his teachers described him at school as, this is really brutal, Hass, the cancer of the class. Okay, that's a brutal thing to say about a child. So obviously he mucked around and was quite disruptive. But then another teacher has turned around since and gone, but you've got to understand, he was highly intelligent. So then it's about trying to harness that intelligence and making school interesting, surely.
And it's about not really, sorry to interrupt you.
No, come on.
It's about, like these so-called teachers that we bring to our students. They can make it or break a student.
Yep.
And I think it's, I've heard this story so many times. And sometimes it doesn't go well, where a teacher would tell a student to go and just forget about this dream, and then the student will eventually forget about it,
Yeah.
and they would destroy this dream. And that's not a teacher's really mission.
And it's not their job to break souls.
It's not.
I agree.
But they do that.
They do.
Because we spend more time with teachers in school, more than our own parents. So teachers actually have a lot.
Yeah.
And when you have a teacher like that, there's just no respect to that.
Even the terminology of that sentence isn't okay.
Bad.
No matter what you think, you don't use that kind of language. I don't think. Anyway, so if someone said that about my child, my goodness, my head would spin off. I'd be there quicker than you could. Anyway, let's talk about Richard Ashcroft, who began playing live gigs in sort of 2005 and ended up at the Live 8 concert in Hyde Park. I hosted a couple of those. So there he is, Live 8 concert, Hyde Park, and Coldplay invited him to perform with them during their set. So they then went on to perform Bittersweet Symphony, which of course was the Verve song. Excuse me. And Ashcroft was performing on it, playing guitar and also singing. And it was at that point that Chris Martin, live on stage in Hyde Park, for Live 8 being pumped around the world, obviously turned around and went, this is the best song ever written, and here's the best singer in the world. And on came Richard Ashcroft. And that's when you realise the level that people admire this singer-songwriter. It's completely mirrored by the Oasis brothers. They love him. He's best friends with Noel Gallagher. He's best friends with the other one. I can't remember his name. It's really bad of me. But these are his people. These are the people that he hangs out with, and these people absolutely adore him. The Gallagher brothers and Oasis actually did a dedication to Richard Ashcroft on one of their songs and said it was for him. So whatever the unique kind of relationship is between these guys, they're all absolutely on point with each other, and the friendship remains.
You know what's interesting, Anna? The obviously music is subjective. I always found it interesting, like when Chris Martin said that. It's obviously a big validation, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's also very subjective. Like,
Very.
I think
Yeah, he's clearly not the best singer in the world, but
but he could be. Like it's just a matter of like people who are fans and know could say yes, and people will say that. I'm not really a big fan of stating stuff like that. You can just say, when you say that, it's more like a validation and more like a push. When you know, because
and he knew what he was doing. So Chris Martin knew
it's
that
a big push.
He put him back on the map.
It's a big push, like
because
that.
Richard was doing his solo career, and I think Chris Martin was literally doing a hand round the shoulders, kind of get my buddy back in.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that he's incredibly talented.
Oh yeah,
he writes songs that go right through your heart, and also what's very interesting, he came out later on and he said, look, I've always suffered with clinical depression. Mental health is a big thing. He talks about Prozac, which is obviously something given to people who are clinically depressed. But you know what? He turned around and went, it doesn't help. It just doesn't help me. It never did. He called it very synthetic. And obviously doctors had given it to him to try and lighten things, but it never worked for him. He said the only thing that worked for him with his clinical depression and his mental health was music, and that was the only thing that kept him kind of sane, and that's what he knew he had to do. But that's where these songs come out. If you actually listen to the words of The Drugs Don't Work, which is about his clinical depression and what the doctors are telling him to take, you will hear the sadness in that human being, and I remember very much feeling that at the time. Richard married a lovely girl called Kate Radley, and she was from a band as well, but no one knew. They got married in 1995, and it was like 5 years after they eventually told the press that they were married, and everyone went, really? And lastly, just a little bit of information, which is quite funny. So the Verve's biggest hit was Bittersweet Symphony. Now, Richard Ashcroft wrote it, and is the only one with the credit, one of the band members with the credit on the song. But it uses a sample of a Rolling Stones track, The Last Time. Now, they had negotiated legally the use of this sample. But when the song came out, Bittersweet Symphony, the Rolling Stone guys came back and said they'd used too much. And so the Verve were like, well, hang on a minute, we got permission. And they took them to court, the Rolling Stones took them to court, and they won. And they were given songwriting credits along with Richard Ashcroft, when actually he had kind of legally been allowed to use the sample.
I'm sure it wasn't on paper.
Yeah, whatever it is. And you always talk about this sampling thing, nothing's new and people do use other songs. But that's really interesting because it was one of the biggest songs of the 90s and still remains one of the biggest songs of all time. And let's talk about this little ditty that we're going to hear. So this is from doing all these massive kind of hymns and ballads, urban hymns, as was the album called. He then launched with his solo career with this song for lovers. And the album's called Alone with Everybody. See, he's all about being alone. And it was originally written, as I said, as a demo track for The Verve. And the single sat at number 3 on the UK charts. And then it sort of went around Europe and it did a bit here and there. But it wasn't a big tune. But it's still got lots to it. And it premiered the music video in May 2000 and had this narrative style. Richard Ashcroft looking absolutely gorgeous. But yes, it's sad. It's sad for me because it feels like half the man that was when he had the band with him. And he also went back to the Verve after having released the song.
Yellow Home
With Anna Schofield.
and Big Hass.
A nice style hat. We are live through till 8 o'clock tonight, and it's 20 to 7. Now, have you heard of Britney Spears? Obviously, there will be people out there who are like, Britney who?
I don't know about that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah,
like when you ask, because her type of music is when you ask a 15-year-old girl right now, or a boy maybe even, do they know about Britney Spears? I don't think all of them will say no. Like I think some of them
will know.
Because of the vibe of the music, no?
I mean, it's pop.
Obviously, it's our generation, right? Like, it's our, it's our, whether it's the Backstreet Boys, the Britney Spears, the Christina Aguilera's.
The early Justin.
Yeah,
all of that stuff.
And Sync. But yeah, Britney Spears her story is just remarkable because, like, what she is right now, whenever she's in the news, it's a bad thing. Whenever in the news, she's put in her relationship with her father, her relationship with her family, her relationship with the fans, how she went through a lot of, I think, I don't know what's going on with her life. Really.
Yeah. And interesting you should say that because I think everyone feels that. So there was a reporter who decided they wanted to do a piece on Britney. And actually it started out as being a piece to just sort of catalogue her music almost. But the more they tried to get near her for comment, the more they realised that there was this sort of shroud of people and they couldn't get near her. They couldn't even get near her people, no matter what they did. And then they started looking into it. It made them probe more. And what's happened is they've made a documentary called Framing Britney Spears. The court battle, the protests, and the glee in her suffering, which was the hardest bit to read when I was researching it this morning. I'm itching to see it.
Yeah.
I'm itching to see it. But
I mean,
it's not on Netflix yet, everybody. It's
100%. But I
Hulu
mean,
and something
like you
else.
said, Anna, I think it's a story that the Framing Britney Spears, it's a documentary, but someone was talking about Framing Britney Spears documentary is really crazy. No artist today would have to endure the literal torture that media, society,
that she did.
Misogynists inflicted upon her. That's what they're saying. The mental health awareness conversation culturally could never be where it is without the awful price she has paid already. Sam Smith has actually reacted to that. He agreed with that. And he actually quoted that tweet with a finger emoji saying, "Read this."
Yeah.
However, other viewers argued and not enough progress had been made. They were talking about, I don't think we've learned that much. The mental health conversation is largely, obviously,
Still
in the same
ongoing
place, and she's still under, very, very difficult. The paparazzi problem still exists. But a lot of it has now shifted to social media, where you have access to hateful messages 24/7. And that's actually right. Remember, we were talking off the air how things are different right now. And it is different, Anna. Things are 100% different. How the hate messages right now, this is how mental
But they don't
health is
even know, with Britney, what's quite interesting is they don't even know if she's in control of her own Instagram. So years ago, I don't know whether you remember, she went through a very public nervous breakdown. She shaved off her hair, and they talk about this, these pictures that literally went viral. And she shaved off her hair, and photographers were taking pictures through the window of the hairdressers as her hair was being shaved off. Complete public meltdown. She came out. She at one point went after some paparazzi and tried to hit them with an umbrella. That was also made into this big, big deal. But actually what the reporters are now saying is if you look how much she was tortured and hounded by reporters, it's surprising that it was just an umbrella. Like, she was pushed to the absolute limit on everything you've just said. And at that time when the umbrella incident took place, her children had been taken away and were with Kevin, her husband at the time, or she was divorcing. There was all that playing out. She was under huge amounts of stress. But since then, her father then appeared from nowhere, Jamie Spears. He just suddenly turned up. He was never talked about in her early career. It was her mother who was by her side. Suddenly, Jamie appears and he gets the court order to be able to control all her finances. And then they put these people all around her. And really, no one's had access to Britney since then. No one knows if she's all right, what she's doing. You can't get near. And funnily enough, one of her very close friends, who also was her personal assistant for most of the years, even into Vegas, said the thing is quite interesting is Britney clearly has a level of ability still going on because she's held down a Vegas residency for years. She's turned up to shows, she's working out, she's dancing, she's singing, she's doing everything that's required of her. She's releasing singles, there's been a release of albums. But you can't get near her. It feels very conspiratorial. And the friend just said she wasn't treated well, and it is odd. So she still can't get free. You know, she's still... there's lots of conspiracy theories as well that she's trying to give messages out through her videos, the colours that she uses, all the costumes that she uses. Who knows if that's true. But this particular documentary, Framing Britney Spears, is really interesting because it started out as one thing and then it became a piece on, do we need to rescue her? She's actually under the influence of family members.
Yeah, facts. I mean, obviously she doesn't want to perform as long as her father remains in control,
she said no.
And she will not perform again until the her father kind of. It's just, look, I don't think we're gonna find out what exactly happened now as we speak. Like, I don't think the truth is gonna come out now. I think it's one of those things where, these are the situations right now where we face, and that world, by the Hollywood world, the music world, the entertainment, is a very dark world. We see what we see from it,
right?
And now social media is a very important player in this whole thing, because right now you can actually have the fans with you saluting you, bringing you up, fixing your mental health in a way.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people, you know, there's the artist called Tekashi 69. He's just really terrible in my opinion. But he has a big fan base, and this guy shouldn't perform at all. But that's my own personal opinion anyway. He has a lot of fan base, but he uses social media to brag about his work or do his work, whatever. Social media is an important game right now. Britney Spears is caught in the middle. How can she get all the love and the fans? And I think something else we're falling into. Back then, we didn't really know these artists. Now you know these artists. You know they're walking the dog today. You know what they're eating. You know what they're...
Again, social media.
Yeah. And I think back then, it's like you don't care. Which brings me to the question, would you still support an artist knowing that they're bad for a community or did something bad? A lot of people are having mixed emotions because they're saying music's to entertain me. I don't care what this guy thinks.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you have other people that...
We do, though, because as soon as it was... I mean, the equivalent was in the newspapers. You know, years ago, it was... And every move Britney made, they were taking photos of her. And that's what she couldn't do. She couldn't leave the house. She couldn't walk around. Nothing was okay. And she was a baby.
But we don't know what's wrong with her. Like, we don't know. The only thing that I know personally is obviously her father controlling her finances. And it's, for me, it's like, yeah, of course, it's a big deal. Why are you controlling her finances? She's an adult. Yeah. So there's definitely more depth to the story than that. But, you know, I don't know. I think anybody, and look at all the people that started off young, and look at them right now.
It doesn't go well.
The only guy,
fame.
Justin Bieber, is the only dude that somehow, one of the very few that kind of got out of it. And his faith, he's really strong in faith now. But they brought someone in to rescue him. They brought Barbara Streisand in to rescue Justin Bieber because he was in trouble. And that time when he came to the UAE years ago, he was in the middle of the chaos. Yeah, and he stopped the touring for a bit, but right now he's more like, you know, closer to God and closer to that.
And
which
he's found some
faith,
peace.
Yeah, faith always kind of saves you.
Yalla Home
With Ella Schofield.
and Big House.
We're live across the UAE, so we're laughing about this little nano thing I'm going to talk about now. 10 past 7. All right, guys. Nano chameleon, the world's tiniest reptile, comes from the northern mountains of Madagascar. If I say to you he's 13.5 millimeters, it's like 1.3 of a centimeter, and he can sit on the top of your finger. He is absolutely tiny. Now the female is a little bit bigger, especially when she's got eggs in her tummy. But the funny thing about him is the proportions of his body are quite interesting, and yes, so males would be admiring him for the percentage, if you know what I mean. But scientists have identified him as the smallest known reptile. He has a relative who's a little bit bigger, and that was discovered in 2012. But right now, this is the nano one, which they're saying, if we don't stop chopping down the forests in northern Madagascar, we are going to lose this little guy.
Wow.
What you got to say? Give me something.
I just think that, you know, still like 2021, we're still finding things
finding
and
new
finding
species
people,
of
and
stuff.
then you still have people that claim that they know better. Generally, like the whole space. Obviously, we have the Hope mission arriving to Mars in a couple of days, which is really big. And then obviously, I'm sure incredible footage is going to come out of there. For me, that's how I think when I see these things. You know, it's still, you don't know nothing. Seriously, we know nothing. And I mean it when I say, like, there's so many things. And I'm not saying we don't. Like, it's, for me, it's very incredible the fact that we now. Supposedly, they're thinking this could be the world's tiniest reptile. Yeah. And obviously, you know, it's just 13.5 millimeters.
Yeah,
do the math.
tiny.
Like, that's crazy.
Brookesia nana, or the nano chameleon. So Brookesia.
You know what's interesting for me, like the type of statements that have been made. For example, I see a statement right here done by the curator of herpetology. He's saying we have no explanation as to why the species is too small. Well, why is that? Like, what does that mean?
Why is that a thing? Yeah.
Why is that a thing?
He's a small one. Yeah.
Yeah, so what?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean for me? And again, maybe, like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
We have
to be big?
We don't know why it's that small. Well, there's many things that you don't know, sir or ma'am.
Yeah, that
You
is
know?
quite a weird thing. That that's suggesting that everything should
Yeah,
be
exactly.
large and that this guy's unusual. He's not.
Yeah, what scientists do know is that reptiles are likely teetering on the
Yes.
edge of extinction.
Teetering, yeah, that
Teetering.
means literally if you're on the edge of
Reptiles.
something, yeah.
Reptiles, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's why we must look after our geckos here in the UAE. Geckos are a blessing. They eat all the bad bugs in your house. They're wonderful. Eat all the mosquitoes. They eat the flies, the spiders. If you have a gecko inside your villa, don't chase it away or be mean to it, and don't let the cat eat it because they think they're little sausages. Cats love a gecko. You've got to harness the gecko. No, leave it there. Let it do its job in your house. Did you know there's also dwarf giraffes?
Dwarf giraffes, nice.
Yeah, because you always think of giraffes such big creatures.
That's nice.
There's dwarf giraffes.
That's actually funny. I'm looking at the picture here.
What's
Dwarf
going
giraffe.
on? Yeah. Love a dwarf giraffe.
It's not a baby giraffe, it's a dwarf giraffe.
Yeah. Really small one. And obviously you can get, teacup pigs. Have you seen a teacup pig?
Yeah, I've seen that.
They're amazing. Teacup pig. I don't know what it is about a small item, but once you're a small item, it's very sweet and very cute.
Wow. I'm just like flickering over to other animal stories. I think we've spoken about this. The gorillas that tested positive in San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
For COVID-19?
For COVID-19. But then they would. I mean, there are kind of people, aren't they?
I mean, tigers apparently have COVID-19 as well. Six
No.
tigers got fallen ill for COVID-19.
Well, if that starts happening, we're all in trouble. They'll be like, the cat's got COVID, nightmare.
Crazy.
No. Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think, but this is just really incredible. The reptile is so tiny, it's crazy. 13.5 millimeters.
Yeah.
We're going to see if we can post a picture on Instagram, Pulse 95 Radio.
If you liked this episode of Yalla Home, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.